Good morning. We are on the book Let Them, and we are covering chapter 6. So, this chapter is called How to Love Difficult People. And don't we all know some difficult people that we are going to have to navigate life? And the Let Them theory and the Let Me is also going to be very, very helpful as we are navigating. So, um, the first thing that she starts talking about in here is how in the let them theory with strangers, coworkers, and even friends, because you likely have a little distance from them to recharge after using it, it's easier. But with family, it's harder. It can be much harder because family is it just hits different. It's with you for life. Family is with you for life. And also with family, we are connected to our family. And so our family is someone that we're always going to be a part of who they are. Hey Jessica, glad you're here. So we're not going to just be able to disconnect from our family. We can create distance, but our blood is our blood, right? And so with family, it tends to be a lot harsher to face because they have a stake in your happiness and, and your success. A lot of the time, when your family cares, they show it by pushing you. When they don't like your friends, or they think you're headed down the wrong path, or they wish that you would take better care of yourself, then they let you know it. Most of the time, it's how your family shows you that they care. And I think that that is so important to remember. I think that that is a thought that creates a feeling that even if what we're going through is really difficult and we wish they weren't saying these things or acting this way, if we can just dial it back to, well, even though I don't like the words they're using or the things they're saying to me, I understand that it's coming from a heart that cares. If we can just remember that, then it helps us to let them. Any thoughts on that so far, Jessica?
Yeah, I thought this was interesting because that's how my family communicates is just you know, like the gossiping. And it was always kind of weird. I'm like, well, why? I don't understand. But this was really eye-opening. Like, okay. And I've been thinking about that lately as I've been coming to terms with how I communicate or whatever. But yeah, it's just like, they care about you so much.
Mm-hmm.
They want to let you know, but like, did you already tell the story about her mom whispering in her ear?
Not yet. No.
Okay, well, I'll let
When
you
we
get to
get to
that. But
that, when we get to that,
that,
you can tell
yeah, but
our
that was like, I really liked that part anyways. But okay, so hold on, I did a little star. The problem is that can quickly cross the line from care to control.
mm, mm-hmm.
That's what I starred on that little part.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yeah, I wanted to really cover these first two pages because I think it sets such a good foundation for how excuse me to cope with our family when they are being the difficult person in our life. And as we move forward in our business, there's people that are going to be like family to us, even if they aren't our biological family. There's people going to be close to us because we've invested so much time and love and prayer into them. And so it can still feel and cut the same way. And how are we going to move through that and keep our vision, keep our dream, keep our hope, keep our joy? And also, I think the way my brain frames it is being strong enough, praying and asking God, help me to be strong enough because um, right here, not to skip too much, it says they want more for you. They want you to be happy and they see all your potential when they think it's going to waste. And
Yeah, that's it right there.
yep. And this sentence, I think, is where you were. However, it can very easily cross the line from caring to controlling. And so then a lot of times what they're sharing, what they're thinking, and this is subconscious, is they feel like they're thinking about what's best for you, but the subconscious part is they're actually thinking about what's best for them.
Yeah, that wasn't a thing, a real awakener for me, that little sentence there. Like they're really what's thinking about it. They're scared, and she gets more into that. They're scared of their projection not happening, or they see your potential is what it is. And I see me doing this. I'm like, I've been the problem a lot.
Me
So,
too, girl.
but it's just because I care so much, and that I think that's what my post recently was about. Like, I get so passionate because I care, and I'm trying to figure out how to make that balance so it doesn't seem like I'm trying to be controlling. So this is like really awakening for me, not like a lot of the other chapters were kind of about like the other people, but this one was more, I felt for me personally.
Yeah. Yeah. And, for me, I dealt with it with my parents, and then I dealt with it now I'm dealing with it with my daughters now that they're grown. And so it can be in your birth family, it can be in the family you've made for yourself. But it still takes a lot of emotional strength. It takes commitment. And I just want to encourage us not to channel that strength from yourself, but channel it from God, channel it from your higher power. Go to God and say, this is hard. And I want to make this post, and I may do it, that says Friday's a good day to cry. I think you have to pick a day that you're going to process your emotions, because we can be strong and even just feel strong a lot of days of the week, but we have to give ourselves permission that, probably for each one of us, there's a day where it kind of piles up, and then that day we have to release. We just have to release. And for me, I was shedding some tears this morning. It sort of just hit me. Somebody else said they were crying and I felt fine, but a couple hours later, I could feel, the emotion of releasing tears. And I don't know if it's because I'm connected to her, and then eventually it channeled to me, or why that is, because I do believe we are all energetically connected. We not just in family, but with everyone we let close to us, everyone we let in our inner circle. So for me, that's my spouse, then my son who lives at home, then my children who are still my children, even though they don't live in my house anymore, my grandchildren. Even if I don't get to see my grandchildren, I'm energetically connected to them. My DNA is inside of them. And so I'm very energetically and cellularly connected to them. And then across my friends, those who are in my inner circle are those who I coach with every week, those who I speak with in messages often, those who I go to church with and worship with, those that uh, are my neighbors that I talk to in my neighborhood. And then it begins to be my community, those who maybe I see at the grocery store or the bank every week. Because I still like to get out. Yes, I know I could just do grocery pickup and I can online bank, and I do those things some, but I still like to connect with real people. And so I purposely don't switch everything to being delivered or online. And so, as I connect with people, and even the people online in Zooms, face to face, that's still a type of belly to belly. Jessica and I have talked about this. Angela and I have talked about this, where it's amazing how this is a real experience. Even though we're on Zoom, we are still energetically connecting. And so, it can be, I pray for strength, and the strength has to come from God. It has to come from higher power. I am not strong enough. and I'm not going to be able to sustain the amount of influence that I have that's growing and the amount of work I'm doing to change lives and help people overcome their red light stories, their hurts, habits, and hangups, unless I'm turning to my higher power, which for me is Jesus and God and Holy Spirit. So I went ahead and put right here. I underlined this at the bottom, and I put shocks to the family. For example, if you decide to get a divorce from your spouse, or you no longer want to follow the same traditions, or you marry someone outside your religion, or you pursue a unique career path, or you have different political beliefs, this will send shockwaves through the entire family system because it disrupts everybody's expectations and beliefs about who you are and how you should live your life. And I think that's worth pausing over because we could add to that list, right? Um, but these are really good examples of shocks that you can expect your family, your close inner circle, even to have an opinion. And if they have an opinion and it's not the direction that you feel like you need to go, I mean, for me, I really do try to pause and listen and pray and ask God for wisdom. Like, what do I need to take from this that is truth and what is not truth? What is maybe they haven't learned yet, or they haven't done the same amount of personal growth I have. They haven't been to the conferences. They haven't paid the money. They haven't got on the plane. They stop smaller than God is. Thank you, Lord Jesus, not by my own power, but by His. Thank you that I've been able to grow to. Um, and that's okay. That was his path for them. But God has me on a really big path. And I trust in him that he's going to give me strength. So these shocks, when these shocks come, and I might be the cause even because of choices I'm making, I also have to trust and let them. And the way I let them is trusting that he's going to give me the strength to handle the shock wave, not just for myself, but for them. I'm going to not only have the thoughts to comfort myself, I'm going to have the thoughts to comfort them, the thoughts to even maybe combat them. I may have to get into verbal exchanges where I'm strong and I have to help them and even be that influence for the change because they didn't read the book, because they didn't get on the plane, but I did. I'm that force in their life. They may agree, but they may not agree. But one thing that my oldest daughter said, she was always my arguer, and she one day told me in a moment of weakness, probably for her, she was like, "Mom, even though I may argue, I'm still listening and I still think about what you said." And that was just so empowering and insightful. And I'm always going to remember that even if on the surface, the family or the one you're talking with that you love is like angry or arguing with you or telling you what you're doing is just so dumb or the wrong decision, inside, they're listening. Inside, they're changing. Inside, they're softening. And so that really does help me to not give up and not be overly discouraged when going through these kind of things. What are your thoughts on that, Jessica?
I thought that was just really empowering to think that, you're the one that's starting it. So, of course, they're going to have a little bit of resistance. Because, like, if you drop a pebble in the water, there's resistance to it first that makes it do the thing where it goes out and makes that ring. So, there has to be something to start it, or else it's just going to always stay still and nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, you're going to have to be willing to face that pushback because you are the one that's pushing down first
Yep.
is like because it was always like to me, and I still fight through this. Like, why don't they just see?
Mm.
Like, why don't they just see what I'm saying? Or, like, I'm not trying to hurt them. I'm not trying to do anything, but they can't because they haven't done the work yet. They haven't done the things yet.
Mm.
So if I put that out of my mind and just simply just go ahead and drop it, then it just does its thing and don't be attached to where it goes. Like maybe it's not supposed to go to them, like they're supposed to keep going with it. Like it just gets really detailed when you really think about just letting go, dropping it, and letting it
Ripple.
ripple down and do what it's supposed to do. Because ultimately, we're not in charge of that ripple. We
Mm.
have no idea how long it's going to go. You know, that
Yeah.
this chapter has been really, really good for me.
Yeah, it could ripple across the whole entire lake, when you drop a pebble or a rock. And I think that's such a great point you make, Jessica, that at first there's like resistance. When that rock hits the water, there's resistance. And then that's what creates the ripple. What a great visual for us mentally, emotionally, spiritually to think about. And that is really where the impact is. The impact creates the ripple, and the resistance is part of the impact that creates the ripple. Wow, so wise.
Ooh,
Well,
I just got chills the way you explained it like that. That was so good.
welcome, Karen.
Thank
I
you.
can.
We're on page
Hi.
96. So nowhere is it more important than when the dynamics of stepchildren and stepparents get added to the interlocked web. This is a major shock to the family system and can either make it or break it, for better or for worse. All expectations for how the household runs when new individuals are introduced are thrown out the window. Change can be really hard to accept, especially for the kids who are being forced to just accept this change and operate as one big, happy, blended family. My grandkids are in that situation, my oldest two, and they have um, brother and sister. And this is good reminder. I need to be including them in my prayers. I have prayed for them, but not daily. So I need to, because they have an impact whether I see them or not. They
Yep.
have an impact on my grandkids' lives and our life because they're part of the ripple. The let them theory will be a game changer in helping you navigate your role as a step parent or step grandparent. As the adult, it's your responsibility to let them grieve, let them see you and your kids. And she says, as a threat, because no matter how good your intentions are, you are a threat. They have to compete with you for time with the parent. It's true. They are seeking control just like you are. Let them feel their emotions. Let them have time alone with their parent. If they don't like you, let them. And I think she's talking about when your stepkids live with you and maybe they don't live with the other parent all the time. That's sort of what it's making me think of. And I think this can even sort of have some of the same feelings with adopted children. I've seen parents navigate that, where even though they may not have even met their biological parent when they become a teenager, and they have consciousness of this is my adopted parent, not my biological parent, then it creates these feelings in them of like competition, or I've got to go find my biological parent and where I really came from. I got to know why they gave me up to see what my value is and my worth is. I think there's some similar feelings, even though the circumstance line can be different. And I also think that there's so many women I've met working in recovery where they were not loved by their mother, or they were not loved by their father, or they were not loved by either. And even where the mother said, "I don't love you," like it wasn't guessing, it wasn't just a feeling, it was confirmed. Kids that were beaten regularly by their parent just took all their frustration out, like horrible things that I'm not going to say here. Just terrible, terrible, brutal treatment. And even though the circumstance line is different, the feelings, and it can be on a scale, right? If we look at it on a scale of 1 to 10, how brutal the treatment was can create a higher number on the scale of the feeling, but the feeling is the same. And so I think we all go through this, and this is part of what ego tries to keep us safe from is that fear of rejection, the fear of being alone. One of the deepest human needs we have, deepest, is for connection. And so there's a definite fear of doing anything that would create disconnection. Um, and then anything that could lead to disconnection. And our brain can just run with that. Like it can turn into fear of not having food, fear of not having a place to live, fear of not having a way to get about, a car or, whatever it is, a fear of losing our health. And so this fear of disconnection, which is tied to the fear of displeasing people, it can just have its own ripple effect. And so I can see this story of step parenting, step kids, and step parenting having multiple applications for us. Any comments on that so far? How you related to this?
I mean, I wasn't married, but I was in like a relationship for like almost 10 years. So, uh, that I'm like going through that with my kids, basically. And, I don't bring like a lot of people I date around them, but if I do decide to, I can feel that competition because I have boys and like the oldest one is super protective of me and whatever. And I can sense that like if I do choose to bring somebody new around, male or female, it doesn't matter. They have like this little guard up and they'll ask like, well, who is this? Was this? Da, 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 and da, da, da. And then I'll even sense them like name dropping their dad, like, oh, dad, blah, blah, blah. Like, your dad? Yeah, yeah, yep, he sure does. So this was very helpful and eye-opening for me, like about they're grieving I wrote that down. They're grieving the loss of the family they wanted. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm grieving that too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that hit hard.
What
Thank
page are you guys on?
97.
Oh, because I found a really good paragraph on 103, so I didn't know where you were.
We're not there
Like
yet.
it
Thank you for
related,
sharing that, Jessica.
definitely.
It's the grief of losing the family we wanted. Um, that is I think that's a grief we continue to process as we go through
Yeah.
our whole life,
Yep.
because there's going to be decisions that we make, and decisions they make. And,
Mm.
it all doesn't always interact and come to the result that we hope for. And so I think it becomes even more important that we let them, which is we let go. We let go of what we hope for, and we also embrace what is, and we find what we can appreciate about it, what we can have joy in, love in, like the love-based emotions, or the fruit of the Holy Spirit emotions. um, we find those, we look for those, we look for the joy moments, even the small joy moments. I have had to repent and make amends for. I know when my girls were younger, there I didn't realize, I wasn't conscious yet of how averted I was to joy. It's like we had joy. We laughed, we played games, we watched movies, we went
I
on
didn't have
walks,
joy.
we went to the
I
park.
didn't have joy.
There's so many. We went to the zoo. There's a lot of joy moments, but um, I know in my spirit I can remember feeling like this aversion to joy, and also like creating busyness to move past joy moments. And so now that I'm have more healing and I have more awareness and I've been training emotions in to because we have to train our nervous system so that we can be comfortable feeling that emotion. We have to be intentional and say, no, I'm going to sit in joy. I'm going to purposely continue to think of joy moments for 20 minutes, right? I'm going to do this regularly. So I'm making a new path from the house to the barn that's joy and not anger or anxiety, frustration, uh, numbness. Even I'm gonna make this path that is joy. And so, whatever the circumstance line is, whether it's divorce or all these things we've talked about, different scenarios, we can help our kids, ourselves. We have to put on our oxygen mask first, but help our kids too by letting us sit in the joy moment. I probably need to make amends. Last night at dinner, I probably asked the wrong question. I was like, hey, did you talk to your counselor and us make an appointment for tomorrow? And it just sort of set attention instead of a joy. Ask that later. Don't ask at dinner. Ask later. As mamas, we can be asking things that create anxiety, upsetness. Also, when somebody's talking, we can either become upset or we can just let it go. And I'm talking to myself because I tend to be okay with picking a little fight. I need to let some things go more and not be offended so easy. Because, like, my husband was talking about something and oh, he forgot to take his medicine and his vitamins. He took them in a Ziploc bag. He's learning how to take his thyroid medicine 1 hour, and then he has to wait an hour. And he took it in a Ziploc bag to work, and then he told me he forgot to take it. So then I was trying to be his coach. I mean, it's just my normal mode. And he made a breathing sound or something, a face, probably both. And I was like, "Oh, you don't want me to comment? I'm just trying to have conversation." So then I just start picking this little. I should have just been like, you know, oh, okay, just shifted a little bit more gracefully, but instead I start to get a little bit angry about it and offended that I'm trying to have a conversation and us talk back and forth at dinner, which is not easy for me. I mean, conversation takes effort. And I'm like, I'm just trying to have a conversation. And so, anyway, he was graceful and we were able to keep talking. And we all worked, me and Joe and my husband all worked to sit there for a while, eat, even not just get up and meet when we were done eating, but sit there a little longer and just be together. And that means a lot to me. I think it'll mean a lot to them, also in their spirit, because we want to be together, right? Even if it's hard, we want to be connected. So, finding ways to let our kids grieve, let other people grieve, let people feel their emotions, it says, let them have time alone. Whatever it is they need, to just let them have that need and let them be in that need instead of trying to change it. And she says that all of this is normal, in big letters. This is normal. And so, what kind of thoughts do y'all have around this, or just even as we segue in to the next part?
I I have the I'm coming to terms with wanting to control everything. And so when a thought pops in my head, I'm like, no matter what the circumstances, no matter how much we're enjoying each other, if something pops in my head, I'm like, oh, I have to say it now before I forget it. And it's not, like you said, it's not going to add joy. It's going to add conflict. But my brain goes, no, you're either, you have to get it out so you don't forget. Or my brain goes, oh, but you're trying to help them in their adult life. This is something they need to know. And it's not. It's not. And Jessica, I wanted to say to you, you said you said I wasn't married, but I was in a relationship for 10 years. Girlfriend, I think you just don't have the paperwork. If you're in a relationship and have two kids for 10 years,
That's
you
like,
just didn't have the paperwork. I mean, you, yeah. So
she
don't
gets
underplay
credit.
that. Yeah,
It's worth
totally.
it.
Totally.
The way the book says it is understanding the larger context and acknowledging their completely normal fears will help you focus on the let me part and operate with more grace to be the wise and compassionate adult. That's what we're saying here. We want to live into being the wise and compassionate adult. Understanding the larger context will help you focus on the let me part and operate with more grace and be the wise and compassionate adult. The more grace and kindness you display, the more space you create for a change in the dynamic to happen. And dynamics happen, whether it's between stepchildren and step parents, and that's hard, and that's the difficult um, person on either side. She once heard a therapist say at a conference, if it weren't for families, I wouldn't have a business. So, what happens when your loved ones don't agree with the way you're living your life or who you are as a person? I can relate. Here's what you are going to do about it: let them. Don't try to change their opinion. Give them the freedom to have it. Whether it's your stepkids, your sister in law, your grandmother, your brother, they're allowed to think whatever they want, and they are even allowed not to like you or the person you love. So let them. And let me choose how to respond. So, frame of reference, she starts talking about Lisa Bilyeu, a best selling author, host of Women of Impact podcast, and co founder of the $1 billion nutrition company Quest Nutrition, shared the concept of frame of reference with me. It is a tool to help you deal with situations where someone disapproves of who you are, who you love, who what you believe, or how you are living your life, and you want to navigate this at a deeper level. I've been there, and maybe you have too. Our global podcast audience went crazy over frame of reference when Lisa described it as a mindset tool that's helped her relationships. Frame of reference is a fancy way to say understanding the lens through which somebody sees something, and it works beautifully with the let them theory. I'll give you an example from my life. When I met my husband, Chris, I was ecstatic and madly in love. And when he proposed, I was absolutely over the moon. At the time, I remember my mom not seeming as excited as I expected her to be. So I had this conversation with her where I told her I wanted her to be excited for me. And I asked her to act as though she was the one who chose him for me. And she said, "But I didn't choose him for you. And if it were up to me, I wouldn't have. So I'm not going to act like I did." At the time, I was so angry. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to cut her out of my life, but I had no idea how to handle the situation. Here I am, madly in love with someone I know is my soulmate, and my mom tells me to my face I would never have picked him for you, and then refuses to act excited for me. I went on to marry Chris, but I felt this tension of disapproval underneath the dynamic between me and my mom for years. It was hard for me to forget what she said, and I didn't know how to let it go. Over time, the tension dissipated, and 30 years later, my mom adores Chris. She likes to joke, "Chris, you're my favorite son in law." He's her only son in law. So, how did I navigate this? It's only recently using the let them theory and this tool, frame of reference, that I've really understood why she felt the way she did. It has been a real game changer in my relationship with my mom and my ability to hold space for her when I disagree with her opinions. And I think that that mind of hold space for her when I disagree with an opinion. That's powerful. See, if I stand in my mom's shoes, knowing that I what I know about her life, I wouldn't want to marry Chris either. Why? Because Chris is from the East Coast, and marrying him meant that I would probably settle in the East and never move back home to the Midwest or live near my mom and dad ever again. Because my mother's frame of reference is that once she left home and met my father, she never moved back home again either. My mom left the family farm she grew up on in upstate New York when she was 17 to attend college in Kansas. She met my dad there and they fell in love. By the time she was 20, she had completed 2 years of college, was married, had me, and my dad was starting medical school. It's not what she or my dad had planned, but it's what happened. In fact, when my dad's parents found out that my mom was pregnant with me, my grandmother said to my 20-year-old mother, I hope you didn't just ruin our son's life. Can you imagine? So, this is how her mom was treated. This is the path her mom went down. Frame of reference, right? When I think about how young my parents were and the fact that they were living in Kansas and had no family around them, it makes me so sad. This was my mom's lived experience, and it formed her frame of reference about raising a family so far away from parents and how hard it is to have no support from family around you. My mom and dad ultimately settled in Michigan after my dad finished his residency in medical school. And growing up, I rarely saw my grandparents or extended family because they lived so far away. It was just me, my mom, my dad, and my brother. And that's the same kind of, I grew up the same way. Our own little family of four against the world. And I had a little brother as well. So when I left home to go to college on the East Coast, it must have triggered this whole fear that I might never come back home. And when I met Chris in New York, who was also from the East Coast, it solidified my mom's biggest fear that I too would start my life far away and never move back home to my small Midwestern town. And that's exactly what happened. My mom's biggest fear came true. When you look at it from my mom's frame of reference, she saw her story playing out in front of her all over again. And that made her mom have to face her emotions, right? If she had never fully dealt with her emotions and, went through some way healthy to reconcile that in her mind, then her mom was faced with needing to heal that in herself. That also is part of the frame. So my mom's biggest fear came true. When you look at it from my mom's frame of reference, she saw her story playing out in front of her all over again. I was going to move away and meet somebody and never come home, and she was right. So if you skip down, it says, I can now see that she did support me. She was just scared of losing her daughter. She loves me and didn't want me to live so far away. Using the let them theory, I can give her the freedom to wish my life took a different path, and I can also really deeply understand where she's coming from. I can empathize with how hard it must be to see your daughter marry someone who will take her away from you. I wouldn't choose somebody like that for my daughter or son either. I wouldn't want my daughter Sawyer marrying somebody from Europe and going to live in Paris. I mean, if it makes her happy, she should, but would that be my choice? No. This may seem unsupportive or controlling, but I'm sure every parent can relate. And I'm not saying that to be controlling. I'm saying that because that's how I feel. My opinion may be negative, but I'm allowed to have it, which I'm sure my daughter would feel is very unsupportive. Same thing with my daughter Kendall. She currently lives in LA and she could very well meet somebody that lives in California and proceed to settle down and raise her family out there. That would mean that I wouldn't see her or her kids as much as I would if they would live here on the East Coast. And I'm allowed to have that opinion. So, all of this is going to boil down to the let them. In the let them theory, there is space with acceptance and understanding for both of our opinions to be true. There is space for a deeper connection, honesty, and love. And it takes an extraordinarily mature person to be able to detach from your emotions and want to step into someone else's shoes. It's hard to understand that someone can love you and have opinions that are deeply hurtful, and at times bigoted. When this happens in life, how you choose to respond is a deeply personal choice. I can't tell you what you should do if someone in your family is judging you. What I can do is give you the tools to determine how you want to respond in the situation. And I think as we think about this in terms of our business, also we have to firmly have a vision in our mind of where we are going, and also as coaches where they have asked us to help them get. I think it's a little bit different frame of reference as we health coach um, people to get to their success. We are meeting their ego, and their frame of reference is the past. It's whatever has happened in the past. Their brain thinks that's going to happen again. And also, it wants it to happen again because it knew they didn't die. And all that brain cares about is keeping you alive. And so, frame of reference in our business can be applied, maybe a little different from how she's talking about it in this book. We do want to hold space for them and where they are now and still love them. It reminds me of that saying, love them where they are at and see them where they can be and love them through the changes. And so it's not getting mad, it's not feeling like you have no power. It's not feeling like, well, this is hopeless. I might as well just give up on coaching them. No, they need you to get in and fight with them to create that change that they have paid you for, whether they bought supplements, whether they have joined your team as a builder. Your job is to join them and join forces so that you can help them to create that change that they want in their life. They don't want to stay stuck at 100 pounds overweight. They don't want to stay stuck on taking 5 prescriptions, the common 5 everybody takes: blood pressure, cholesterol, gabapentin, anxiety, acid reflux. They want off of that mess. And so sometimes the way that we hold space for someone is by getting in the space with them when they've indicated they do want us to, and fighting that battle with them against brain, against ego, against the way it always has been, and holding vision when they're not strong enough yet, holding vision of them 100 pounds lighter, of them making $100 a month for the first time, and then $1,000 a month as they go gold and senior gold. That's what we're doing as icons. Being an icon now, already being an icon, is seeing 2 people on your team or in your potential hot list that you believe can help 10 people right now. Believing that person already has 10 family or friends because of who they've already become, who they are right now, that I could talk to them about starting the triplex with reset or starting the skin health system, and right now they could help 10 other people do the same thing. And so as you hold belief, even if when you talk to them they're going to meet you with resistance, the resistance we talked about at the beginning of this chapter, of whatever their red light story is. I don't have time. A successful person often thinks, well, I don't have time to have a party. Someone who doesn't have success yet thinks they don't know anyone who would come. And so, either way, you're going to meet resistance if you're helping a new person have a sip and shares. Sometimes you might find that 1 in 100, you ask 10, and or you ask 100 and 1 out of 10 will say yes, and then 1 out of those 10 will maybe believe, like, oh yeah, I can have 10 people, yeah, I can have a party, let's set a date. Like, it's not going to be all the time. And so we have to hold space for belief in the vision that we are creating also for them when we do have permission. They've asked us and invited us to do that. Or even when they're a prospect and they haven't joined you yet, to hold that vision for them that they will join you and they can do this with you.
Can I ask a question real
Yeah.
quick?
Yeah.
I have to go back and listen to it again, but I need you to explain to me. You said at the very beginning of all of this about the frame of reference, that we need to have a vision, um, and their frame of reference from their past is what they're clinging to, and that's okay, is what we're saying? Because you said that
You're being okay with that. Yes.
because they didn't die. So their frame of reference is I can do this much because I didn't die.
Mm,
My job is to help them get past that point of, okay, you didn't die here, but we want to go here, right? You didn't die here, we
right.
want to get here. Okay, okay, okay.
Right, because
So,
their brain is like, oh, if I ask 100 people over to get, 10 yeses to come to my
yeah,
party, that is a lot of rejection, and I might be abandoned, and I might not have food, and I might somehow lose my place. I mean, it's crazy where our brain goes if we fear
okay,
distancing and disconnection.
okay,
So
right.
holding space for them to do it anyway. What is that? You're working with oh, that's right. Okay. You want me to get a small one? I'll call you. All right. Don's leaving. Sorry. Okay, so yes, good questions, Karen. Good questions. So in her book, she is talking about how to let them have their opinion, let them hold space for them. And I think in our business, that's what can be a little tricky is yes, we're still holding space for them. The way we do it is emotional. We're letting them have their fear. We're letting them pitch their fit by, you know, threatening to return their products, which doesn't happen hardly ever, but where whatever it is, they get them and they're not taking them. That happens maybe a little more, or they're not returning our messages. They got the products, they're taking them, they're not answering our messages. So there's different ways people put up resistance and it manifests. We we don't give up. The way we're holding emotional space. Thank you, babe. Emotional space for them is and let them and we're letting them is by we continue in our actions. We continue if when you set the reminder for the alarm to go off every Friday to get back with Carol because she bought your stuff, even if she didn't answer you week one, you still message her week two. She didn't answer you week two, you still message her week three. She didn't answer you week one and two or three, you still message her week four. You stay in the actions. You let Carol, you're letting them, you let them. But you keep doing what you agreed to do because you have vision. And as you keep having vision and holding space and letting her have her frame of reference, by doing that, you create change. You're it's kind of like have you ever let's go back to our example of the rock in the lake. Have you ever you threw a rock in and your son threw a rock in or your brother or your dad and both of y'all have ripples going. The rock that is a little bigger because it has more weight, it's stronger, and those ripples will start to take over the other ripples. And so that's what you're doing. You have a frame of reference that's different. You know she can succeed. You know you've already read all these testimonies, met people at convention, maybe had even successes on your team. You have your own successes. You know it's not theory anymore. So you can be the stronger, bigger, heavier weighted rock in the lake that creates these ripples that as she has fears and her frame of reference, your ripples start to take over and have an effect on her ripples. So that's another way we still are loving, The way we let them is we still are loving, we stay in the actions, we stay in the vision, and we also keep asking new people. So, as our belief is high, we don't say, oh, well, I just got to stop asking and focus on Carol. If I can get Carol to do what I want, then I'll go and do my connections today with my 10 or 12 people. No, Carol's responses does not determine the rest of your list. You've got people on your list that are going to be affected because they do want to have change in their life. Your frame of reference, you have to hold on to your vision. That is your frame that you're staying in. Does this make sense? Any comments or thoughts this makes you think of? One thing Kyle says is when there's really only three things we need to do to build a very successful diamond business. That is prospect and have some people join us. Out of the people who join us, some people stay. And out of the people who stay, some of them build a business too. That's it. And so, if we just keep that as our frame of reference, you may need to write it on a post it note and put it on your computer where you're in your workspace, where you look at it every day and purpose to look at it. Look at your dream board, don't ignore it. Look at your post it notes, read them. That's you leading yourself. That's part of your frame, the strength of the frame. You're creating a frame that you're referring to so you can lead. Okay, so she goes on. There was a story both of y'all wanted to talk about, a little story. Jessica, what was the story with her mother whispering in her ear that you mentioned earlier?
Oh, just where she was talking about Chris and or no, 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 where she got to the party. She decided that
Tell
she
about
was going to try to do both. Um, there was a birthday party going on for one of her friends, and it was 4 hours away. And then there was her grandma who was coming into town too at the same time. And she was like, well, I could do both, like, try to make it happen. Go out because her friends was like for 2 days, but her grandma was going to be in town for like it like
the
overlapped.
weekend or something. Yeah.
Yeah, so she was like, well, if I go out with them the night before and then I can drive back and then see my grandma and spend the evening with them and it'll all work out. And then so she does that. They have a great time. She didn't really tell the friends what she was doing. So she just like gets up, leaves a note like, hey, blah, blah, blah. Love you. Had a great time. Continue to have a great time. Can't wait to hear about it type of thing. And then she goes about her day. So while she's driving, unbeknownst to her, her friend was like, oh, that was kind of crappy. Like, why didn't she just not even come then if she can't stay the whole weekend? And so she doesn't even know about this. She's driving to see her grandma. She's all happy. Gets to see her grandma, gets a hug. Her grandma's all happy. But then her mom's like, hey, by the way, your grandma was really upset last night that you weren't here. I put them all in the Oh, good job. Thank you. He put all of his crayons in the pouch. So yeah, that was the story. It was like,
Good
tainted both
job. Good
ways,
job.
even though she tried to do the best thing she could. It was like she still didn't make either one of them happy.
Yeah.
But the fact that she did do what she wanted to do, well, her plan was, I'm going here for this amount of time, I'm leaving, and then I'm going to this one for that amount of time, and I'm staying there. It did work out, even though they both were like, no, 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 no. She then was like, well, that's them and their loving way of just saying, you upset me because they can't just flat out be like, you upset me that you didn't come exactly the way I wanted you to. But yeah, I was like, that's a prime example of my life every day, every single day that happens
Oh
multiple
my
times.
goodness, every day, Jessica. Oh. Well, and I agree. I thought that was a great example. It's in chapter 5, if somebody's listening and wants to read it. That example was in chapter 5, and we're doing chapter 6. But it was the perfect example to fit in here of how expectations on both sides, and you have to decide, how do I want this weekend to look? I want to see my friend and celebrate her birthday. I want to see my grandma. And where her mom whispered in her ear, your grandma was disappointed that you weren't here when she got here. And it's like, then that's her. Like, she needs to adjust her expectations that I'm so glad that Mel is here at all. Like, she made a huge effort. I think the party was like 4 hours away, and she drove back to spend time with her grandma. So, and I see lots of grandparents who really do appreciate their kids and do have, expectations that are reasonable. And so,
I'm wondering if mom just said that
mhm,
grandma was totally fine with it and grateful. Because
and
every
that
time I hear
happens
that
too.
story, I'm like, I don't think grandma, grandma's to the point that she's just grateful you're here. I think mom
And
was
that
upset because
happens too in life.
me saying, hey.
Say it was grandma, but it was really her. Good
Yeah,
point, Darren.
yeah, that's
Well,
what I think.
and what was it you were thinking about earlier you had wanted to say? I think you said from page 103, but whatever. What was it you had wanted to point out? You're muted somehow.
Thank you. On page 103, the third paragraph down, it says, it's also easy to feel frustrated and annoyed when the dynamics with your siblings or your divorced parents or your in-laws or your step parents, or in my case, your adult children. It's easy to choose not to understand their perspectives. And that's where I'm at. You're you're an adult, but you're still my kid. And because I'm your mother, rank has its privileges and I'm your mother. And, I need to get over it. So that just caught my attention. Um, since you guys are right there, I'm just going to keep reading. You have to decide whether or not you're going to accept people as they are, your family or your step family, or create the distance that you need. All it takes is one person to change the way they show up in a family, and the entire system can change for the better. And that person is you. One of the reasons why love the let them theory is that anytime you improve yourself, it improves all the relationships. And this is particularly true with family. I have felt the impact in my own family. So I thought that was really good.
I was talking about this last week. The paragraph that says two things can be true at once, and that there is space to let that be the case, and for love to exist. Is that
Mm.
what you were reading? Is that the part that stood out to you?
No, the third paragraph down, just feeling frustrated and annoyed. That's where I find fun. Oh, I'm sorry. Where are you?
Oh,
Sorry, you just
okay.
showed
I
and I
was,
didn't see it.
you were here and I was here. So the one below
Oh,
that,
yeah.
easy to feel frustrated and annoyed with the dynamics.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Because
And
I still think I'm the mom and everything should rotate around me. But give me a break. When my parents were alive, it's like, no, I'm married. It doesn't work like that now. Now that I'm the mom and I'm on the other side, I'm like, look, I'm the mom. You guys should be doing this for me. I'm the mom. It's like, no, the dynamics have changed. And my husband, praise God, is the one that he's got it. And he's the one that's just like, Karen, that's not our place. If they don't ask, you don't share your opinion if they don't ask you.
right, when they're adults, what really the way I look at it is, with mine is my time for raising them is over.
Mm,
And it's time for me to be quiet and just listen. I've got, 40, 50 years of being quiet and just listening. But unless they ask me a question, unless they ask my advice, and actually I love it. I when I go to my middle daughter's house,
hmm
she'll just talk nonstop for an hour, 2 hours, however long I stay. And I'm mostly just, I'll interject just enough that's just like keeping the conversation going. But
Yeah.
I do not try to like give her some big advice unless she's, indicating she wants that. I may share my opinion on something if it's really not, it's neither here nor there kind of thing.
Hmm.
I have learned to just listen. Just a lot
Yeah.
of what older kids need is they're on their own journey and they just need support. They just want somebody to listen and validate
Yeah. Yeah.
them because it's hard to be an adult and make
Yeah.
decisions. It's scary.
Yeah.
Um, and they just want that support, every kind of support we can give them, whether it's emotional, spiritual, financial, physical, like a hug. Those really matter. And I also know from losing my mom and my dad that when my kids look back on the adult years, um, when they're older, and that's what's going to matter. And
Yeah.
they're going to be really grateful for any time that I validated them and said, I'm so proud of you. You're doing a lot of things right. Um, I really am proud of you for how you're raising your kids, or I'm proud of you for how you've grown your own business, or I'm proud of you for the wonderful person that you are,
Mm.
how you love God, or and
Yeah.
those words. It's kind of like with our grandkids when you're with your grandparents, God makes grandparent time magnify. Like you could have only been with your grandmother 4 times in your life and you're going to remember stuff she said forever. And so it's similar, some of the words we say to our kids, even when they are younger, because I can remember I've had to process and inventory even some things that was said to me as like a junior high age child.
Yeah.
But even, some of the things when my parents were adults, like in the feeling that they gave me, they believed in me, they loved me, they supported me, they prayed for me every day. My granddaddy too, my mom's dad, he prayed for us every day, and we knew that. When he died, I was most upset he wasn't going to be here to pray for me every day. I miss that because I know I'm still miss it because I know it made a difference. And one of my friends at church, I was talking to her, she's an elder's wife, and she said she was going to be praying for me this weekend. And I said, that means the world to me. And, in texting, I didn't go all into my granddaddy and all that, but that's what I had in my mind. It's
Oh,
like,
that's a good
my
point.
granddaddy's gone, my mom's gone, my dad's gone. Like, I miss
Yeah.
the people who prayed for me every day,
Yeah.
and they're gone. And so for her to pray for me, that means the world to me. So to summarize, the summary on page 106 says, oh, and I wanted to read this on 105. This acceptance allows you to see your family with compassion. And more importantly, it allows you to see yourself as an individual who has their own unique frame of reference and path in life. Then you move to the second part, which is let me. Let me figure out what kind of relationship I want to create based on the kind of person I want to be and the
Hmm.
values that I have. And I think too, it's interesting. I don't know, probably Mel hasn't gone through this yet, but the frame of reference can switch from your parents and all of those expectations to your adult kids. Like as we age, our adult
Hmm.
kids become more, and we need them and we rely on their help. And, we're worried about pleasing them so we can have help and all of that,
Yeah.
more and more and more. And so some of this concept acceptance, I have to accept myself as an individual with my own unique frame of reference and path in life. I
Hmm.
have to accept that my kids, their frame of reference as adults is not, I'm 20 years ahead or 25 years ahead. And I could easily be in fear. I could be in so much daily fear around getting older, around I'm going to need more help because I've already seen what happened to my parents. Um,
We
and
live in our son's house.
yes,
We live in our son's house.
yeah,
Yeah, so I get it. I get what you're
yeah,
saying.
you get it, Karen. And so um, we, I have to work on not going there. I have to trust that their frame is going to mature. It's going to change. They're going to learn how to live more and more into love and compassion and acceptance in the next 25 years as they become 50 and I'm 70 and 75
Hmm.
years old, that it's going to be okay. God is still going to be with me. He's still going to provide, and that's really my frame. God is the support around the frame, and my kids are inside of that. And my parents were, at first when you're born, it's your parents. That's all you know.
Right,
They teach
right,
you about God. They teach you about those things. So it's very interesting this is a deep chapter, Jessica said. She's so right. So let's summarize. Number one problem, you are giving other people's opinions too much power when you let the fear of what people might think dictate your choices. Okay.
mm,
So this can be past or future. If I'm worried about my kids in 20 years, are they going to take care of me? I'm already
hmm,
being into the future.
hmm,
And I could limit my potential, hold myself back from pursuing what I truly want, and I could pull away from them. That could damage my relationship now because I'm afraid of the future. This fear causes you to procrastinate, doubt yourself, become paralyzed by perfectionism, and most importantly, give up on my dreams or your dreams. So we want to move forward with truth. Here's the solution. People will have negative opinions about you no matter what you do. It will happen. Let them. You can't control it. Allowing someone else's opinion to distract or consume you is a waste of your time and energy. Solution. When you let them think what they want, it gives you the freedom to do what you want. When you align your thoughts and actions with your frame, I'm going to say frame, it's your values, you will be proud of yourself. And when you're proud of yourself, you won't care what anyone else thinks. When you say let them, you make a decision to let people think negative thoughts about you, even in your family, when and even in your inner circle, wherever it happens. When you say let me, you focus on the one person whose opinion truly matters, yours. And you get one wild and precious life, so go live it in a way that makes you proud. So I thought this was a really great chapter too, and an empowering one that really, I'm always going back to my frame. That's where my strength comes from, to let me live my one wild, precious life the way that it makes me proud. I I want to make God proud, so it's not just about me from in my.
hmm, hmm,
I want to live my life full out so that when I'm on my deathbed, so to speak, who knows how it'll really happen, but what I imagine is on my deathbed, then I have spent myself 110% for the work and the mission that God put inside of me. And one of the things, it's been interesting as I'm doing some private coaching now to see the even bigger purpose coming to real life, for what God has always had inside of me. And that in order to live into that purpose, there is going to be more resistance. There's going to be more of me feeling. I'm such a feeler. So as I connect with more people, I grieve with you. I pray with you. I mourn with you. I have vision with you. And how in the world are we going to do that, becoming diamonds, even becoming icon, unless our is coming from a source of power higher than us?
hmm. That's
That's
a good
God.
point.
And
That's a good
so
point.
that is where the power comes, to let them, even when it is family. even when it is people like somebody said no to me today for even coming to my free exercise class. And when it triggered in me, like, wow. I mean, my brain wanted to be like, we need to support each other in the Christian community, like show up because your sister asked you. It's a free class, because her answer was when she said her reason for not signing up, she's like, I have lots of options for exercise. I was like, I was offended. I'm sorry. I was
Jessica.
like, I'm your sister and I'm a real person. What does that even mean? Your YouTube video that's you don't even know them? I mean, I'm sorry, that just it bit. It bit. And I'm like, okay, so I have to let them. My frame of reference is different from her frame of reference. I know that she didn't mean to be hurtful. I know that I don't know what is in her mind exactly. I know she didn't mean to be hurtful. My brain went there, but
Mm,
I believe better than that. And I think that's an example of how we hold space. When Mel said hold space for them, that their frame of reference is different than yours. You're like with her mom not wanting her to move away, when she processed all that, why she said she went and chose Chris, then that
hmm
let her hold space for her mom's feelings, and that empowered Mel to let her. So we have to do that as we ask people to come into our business, or come, all the ways, come to my party, come to my Zoom, hop on the Monday night call. We have to think like this so we can let them and we are empowered to move forward. If I wallowed in what that woman said and I made that be my truth all day long, my brain would just
hmm
that. I
hmm
would be like, I'm a Christian. She didn't support me. Wow, Christians just don't support each other. And I just go off and let this become some kind of big snowball, and then I would be bitter. I would just, some people let it go into vengeance. I'm not a vengeance person. That isn't my character. But sometimes we want to withdraw. We're like, well, I'm not asking anybody else. I'm going to go
Yeah,
shopping, or I'm going to go eat, or I'm going to go sit in
yeah,
my blow up pool today, or whatever. I'm going to
yeah,
pet my lizard. Like, we go to our behaviors. Hopefully they're positive. Hopefully not. I'm going to go, you know, do something that would hurt us. But even still, it's not vision. So we have to move past the hurt habit hang up mode. We have to move past the vengeance mode or wallowing in hurt mode. And we have to move to vision. And that's where, look at your dream board, pray, meditate, get connected to higher power so you have the strength to stay in vision and let them. That's it for me today. I hope that you guys have a wonderful Friday. Thank you guys
so
so much
good.
for hopping on and doing
So
chapter
good.
6, difficult people. That's something we always have to navigate. So, our next chapter is chapter 7, dealing with someone else's emotional reactions, and is the section. And chapter 7, when grown-ups throw tantrums. This is going to be hilarious. I
I
need to
know I'm
read
going
it
to be
right
in there.
away. I think I deal with that pretty daily
That's
sometimes.
what I was thinking. I'm thinking
I
me.
love y'all. I could spend all day with y'all. Have a wonderful Friday.
Do. Bye,
Bye,
guys.
everyone.